William Oduol, the Deputy Governor of Siaya County, is our guest and he is now in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Karibu to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay.
Bond will stand out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fine.
City.
Yes. How have you been?
I could be better.
It's good to see you.
You could be better.
I could be better. I mean, I'm getting a lot of beating, I must say. Not sure whether it's for all the right or wrong reasons, but here we are.
But when a DJ is not beating, you are getting a lot of publicity. People, even people who didn't know you, you.
Now know me. I've become an instant celebrity.
And in this arena that you're in, you're now chosen profession.
Right.
What you're calling a beating, that's the currency by which people get known.
Right. True.
Yes.
True. Publicity for a politician is good. Whether bad or good, it's still good for a politician.
It's all publicity.
Yeah.
What's happening in Siaya?
Many things happening, I must confess. We is it 8 months now? It's 9 months into our administration.
Yes.
We started off in September. These lofty ideas on how we wanted to transform the great county of Siaya. Those ideas still obtain. We had a 9-point manifesto, James Orengo and I, that we still hope over the next 4 years we're going to execute on. And we are committed. I want to say this to the people of Siaya County and the rest of the Republic, that we are still committed to the manifesto that we sold across the country. However, you've heard me, and as you rightly said, make some necessary noise, and we have issues, Orengo and I, me as his deputy. And those issues are not personal, they are ideological.
Okay.
The issues to do with governance, specifically. He wants to steer the ship in one particular direction, and I'm suggesting that with a little panel beating, we need to steer this ship in this particular direction.
A different direction?
In same direction, but in a manner that would ensure that the internal controls are working, and that we do not give room for theft, for plunder, for expropriation of public money. That's the point of disconnect. Orengo is a fine legal mind. I am a global business leader. I was Africa CEO for multinationals, worked for Microsoft and the rest of that in very senior positions. I am an accountant by training. My PhD is in leadership and governance. So what I understand is management and administration. That mix of skill combined with James Orengo's legal mind would hopefully catapult Siaya to greater heights, and that for me is a combination that should, in a fairly accelerated basis, help us achieve the manifesto that we put up and put out for the people.
Who came up with this manifesto?
I, together with a few professionals, worked on the manifesto. I largely worked on the manifesto.
So this manifesto is a William Oduol manifesto?
The manifesto is a James Orengo William Oduol manifesto. It is our manifesto that we both agreed on.
So did you, at the point of conceptualizing the manifesto, discuss and agree the direction that you will steer the ship and how you would steer the ship?
Yes. Our rallying call, Eric, was around good governance, transparency, and accountability. Those basic tenets were the fundamental drivers in coming up with this particular manifesto. And when we started, We started very well. The first 3 months, we were working very closely, James Orang and I. And he had delegated effectively to me, particularly in my areas of strength, finance, and putting in place the right systems, the right structures, the right processes within finance. And the conveyor belt was working seamlessly. Towards the tail end of November, I noticed with regret abnormally huge withdrawals. Okay?
Withdrawals, you refer to money, of course.
Money. Money. You see me with a big file here because seeing is believing sometimes, City, right?
Yes, you are right. Because at some point we are going to ask you to show us the evidence.
Show the evidence, yes.
Go on.
So I started noticing, Eric, huge withdrawals in November. And at some point, the month of November, one day, 21 million withdrawal. Impressed is petty cash. Impressed is for emergency. The Public Finance Management Act even prescribes a limit. It says, yes, counties are allowed to open impressed accounts, but they cannot draw more than 300,000. Okay? So I summoned the finance guy.
What when if they need more than 300,000?
Then it needs to pass through IFMIS. Because IFMIS has an audit trail. Impressed is what is easily abused. Because once you take it to Impressed, now you just use checks to withdraw. And this is what Siaya is notorious of. In one day, City, a junior employee is used to withdraw money, 950,000, 4, 5, 6 times in one day, just trying to circumvent the 1 million central bank requirement. Because you see, beyond 1 million, of course, there has to be documentation and you have to, explain.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the 21 million
Siaya,
was over how long?
So the 21 million was for one day. And I will show you. I have proof here. So in the month of November, Siaya account withdrew 46 million.
Okay.
In the month of December, through Impressed, Siaya County withdrew 41 million.
And what was this money for? From what you've been able to establish?
They have these political statements. They say withdrawn to finance county operations.
That is what now was the transaction reference.
Yes.
Okay.
To finance county operations. So I called the finance guy and I asked him, my friend, this old bad manners that was perpetuated in the previous administration, I thought we had agreed we were going to stop it. What's going on? Where is this money going to?
Which finance person did you call?
The chief finance officer, the topmost guy in finance. So I called him to my office and I told him, my friend, are we back to the same old ways of doing things? And he was very cagey. So I said, if you're not going to explain to me where this money is going to, I am going to invite EACC. And so he confessed to me that they would withdraw money and take to the governor. So I said, I'm going to ask governor if indeed this is true, because when we started with James Orengo, we agreed we were not going to do that. So I went to the governor, and the governor said no, he declined. And
he declined what? Did he deny that he knew anything about this process?
He denied that
or declined
knowledge.
To answer you?
No. He answered me.
Okay.
But he declined knowledge of these withdrawals.
Okay.
Now, he is my governor. I did not want to put him on the spot. However, I knew that if indeed he was doing it, at least I'd brought it to his attention, and that would form some fair amount of deterrence, and that it was going to stop. December, same story obtained. January, same story obtained. In record 3 months, these folks had withdrawn in excess of 100 million. 3 months. And so the final nail on the coffin was in February, mid. When governor, and by the way, we used to be very close with James Orengo, and we would consult virtually every day. But after I confronted him, I noticed that he was drifting. That bond, that relationship that we had was drifting. January, minimal engagements. February, completely no engagement with me at all. So in February, he returned the people that had been interdicted, those that were under investigation by EACC and DCI for theft of 600 million and 400 million in the previous administration. All of them, the 4 of them, he brought them back to those particular positions. Then for me, I said, now I must go back to the people. And that's when I started making noise. That was our point of departure, complete point of departure.
Bonadiji, do you have a specific portfolio in the cabinet?
No, I don't.
So you're just deputy governor?
Yes.
But you say for the first 3 months, Governor Orengo had sort of delegated
Yes.
duties to you. How had he delegated duties to you?
So, because he acknowledged the unique skills that I had or have around finance, because I'm a CPA, around administration, I'm a CS as well. I'm a certified secretary. And my leadership and governance background, given I come from the private sector. That's where I've plied my trade in a long time. So he had encouraged me to focus more on finance so that I seal the loopholes that existed.
So what did you do by focusing on finance? Did you participate, for example, in the identification of the CEC CEO for finance?
So,
were you oversighting them?
I was oversighting. Governor and I together participated in the identification of the CECs. In fact, I want to say here that we are one of the few counties that carried out a proper recruitment process. We put out an ad, got applicants, we interviewed them, and we generally ran a very meritorious organization when we started. Very meritorious. And the folks that we hired on merit.
Right.
Largely.
So when you started raising these issues, of course, out in the public, it got a lot of publicity and it even got into the attention of the county assembly. Did you engage directly with the county assembly?
No, they summoned me to go and give evidence over my political statements in funerals and social media. And I took the evidence to the assembly, the county assembly. I had hoped that I was going to present my oral evidence as I gave my written evidence, but they did not give me the opportunity. So I presented my written evidence. Of course, there are some people that I had adversely mentioned that they reached out to, and those people gave out their responses. And the assembly, in their own wisdom or lack of it, did not invite me to go and substantiate. The report came out last week by the assembly. They dismissed my report evidence in total. I disagree with that determination, but that's where we are. So yesterday, as you may have heard in the papers, they have started the process of impeaching me.
Yes.
And the irony again, Eric, is that whereas in the summons, the evidence that I submitted was around financial impropriety, the grounds yesterday for impeachment are completely new grounds. Nothing that we've been discussing over the last 2 months. One ground was on, they're saying that I influenced, what did they call it? Did they call it, I influenced the tendering process with some roads project and fertilizer and sheets.
Yes.
And then the other one is that I did renovations in my office to the tune of 18 million. Now, I want to counsel that we do not discuss the grounds for impeachment now, because I also do not want to show them my trend of thought. They have invited me for a meeting next week on the 6th, Tuesday. If I say, because I don't agree with those grounds, in fact, they are frivolous. They are...
Can I ask just one question, though? Is there anything that prevents the Assembly from picking any point they see fit to be the grounds for what they consider to be your impeachment?
No.
Must they be limited to what had been discussed before?
No, not at all. Not the
Okay,
point.
yes.
The point I was trying to make, City, is that you see, as deputy governor or governor, we have a fiduciary responsibility.
You do?
And what had been in the news airwaves was misappropriation of funds. I mean, those are serious allegations.
Yes, they are.
And yeah, and I was hoping that the assembly, it would have been in their interest to establish authenticity.
I see.
Yeah.
But have they now not shown you what their interest is? Because you thought they
Yeah.
had an interest, but now they've demonstrated clearly where their interests lie.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
clearly their interests and yours,
At variance.
yes, they are.
William Oduol is the deputy governor of Siaya County. He's embattled. He's been out there on the front saying, there are issues that are taking place in the Siaya County executive, and I'm out here representing the people and saying, no, these things have got to change. The representatives of the people in the county assembly have said, there are issues that are happening with our governor and he needs to get out of office. Okay. So 38 MCAs have voted for a motion to impeach the deputy governor. He's here to respond to us on the issues that are facing Siaya County. DG, I have the report of the county assembly that looked into the matters that you had raised, the report of the Committee on General Oversight on the allegations raised by Deputy Governor William Oduol on corruption and mismanagement in the county executive of Siaya. And they say all the issues that you raised, they looked at them and they could not find any substantiation to any one of those issues. Now, you say that they did not invite you, but you presented a written memorandum to them.
Yes.
And they looked at that memorandum and they did not see anything to corroborate what you presented as in your memorandum. What do you say to that?
So, it's ludicrous. The feedback from the county assembly was very unfortunate because they said, and the operative word, Eric, was unsubstantiated. That's when they dismissed all these allegations, they said unsubstantiated. How do you substantiate when you have not been given the opportunity to substantiate? I was not given the opportunity. They didn't afford me the time to go and explain the allegations. For example, Eric, my allegations, I was very surgical in my submission to the assembly. I said, when we joined in September, 22 million was withdrawn and only 4 million was used. 18 million was stolen. And I presented evidence. Now, I mean, it is either black or white. Now, the other allegation I made was that the county executive was withdrawing 4 to 5 million every 2 to 3 days through Imprest. I even provided, Eric, and I've come with here, bank statements from Equity Bank, certified. I mean, what other evidence do you need? I have bank statements. You have one employee, City, junior employee that goes to the bank and withdraws 950,000. 950.
This is cash.
Cash.
Okay.
Cash. And that's petty cash. I just said that the PFM Act prescribes a limit and it says not more than 300,000. When you're withdrawing 950, 5 times, 6 times, isn't that theft? Where is the emergency? And why is it not passing through IFMIS? Because all audit trail is managed through IFMIS. If it is normal business operation, it passes through IFMIS. So that's the other thing that I said.
Mheshimiwa, there's a discussion that your discussion and assertions raise. Because it's now gone beyond what you're calling as theft. Because with the report from the county assembly and their determination and their conclusion, a new introduction comes in. Essentially, they seem to be saying by their report that they do not find substance in what you are saying.
Yes.
And if you insist that indeed there is substance, then what is immediately implied is collusion. What is immediately implied is that the county assembly have either been co-opted into pointing fingers at you and ignoring what you have presented, or we are saying that the county assembly doesn't know what it's doing and that it is your view against theirs, and as far as they are concerned with the evidence that they have, whatever evidence there is, they disagree with you. Now, it becomes rather difficult to believe that an entire assembly would be of one mind against only one person who agreed with you. If that is the case, then one has to ask what really is going on in Siaya County.
Very, very apt analysis, I must say. I mean, I am a thoroughbred professional, accountant of repute.
Yes.
And the evidence I presented is cogent. It's not hot air. And now that I have managed to exhaust the internal mechanism, City, I promise, I handed over the evidence to ESCC.
Okay.
And I am certain, that I am going to be vindicated very soon. Let's wait, because you see, I mean, I am not a visitor in Jerusalem. And I want to look at the MCAs in their eyes. When we eventually have people arrested by ESCC or DCI, how are they going to walk in the streets of Siaya County? How are they going to walk?
DG, this report in most of the allegations, because they've actually broken down each allegation that you presented to them.
Yes.
And then they look at the documents that they have, and they sought for documents. And on each one of them, they say, for example, here you're raising an issue with the withdrawal of funds on a certain date, and they say the withdrawal of the funds is actually supported by documents, as required by law.
So Eric,
from what they see, let me pick one.
Right.
Allegation, payment of 4.185 million shillings from the emergency account for supply of pharmaceutical products. All right? They say in their findings that during the financial year, the county assembly appropriated 80 million shillings to be expended in the emergency food account. The county assembly approved the spending of 70 million shillings. We further note that the matter was raised in the management letter of the Auditor General on this day, and statements for the period. It is important that the Deputy Governor allows the audit process to run its full course. So this one is premature. On the other one, County Revenue Fund account, they look at it. In each of these issues, the County Assembly appears to have actually gone into, do we have documentation on this particular matter?
So
do we have evidence that corroborates with what the DG is saying? Has there been breach of the law established and procedures established? And that's why in each of them they say, okay, but procedure has been followed. Due process has been followed in each of these issues.
So, Eric, yes and no, actually. And you see, for me, there are no emotions in this thing. I am presenting facts. If you, that's a report that you're reading, let's take, for example, Impressed, because that is the one that is...
it's the hot potato.
The hot one. That's
Okay.
where the bulk of the theft comes from. You see now, County Assembly, the MCAs, that report did not address itself to the abnormal, huge withdrawals. It addressed itself to the legality of having an Impressed account. I mean, I didn't say it is illegal to open an Impressed account. The PFM Act allows counties to open Impressed accounts.
Yes.
So the issue was not legality or otherwise. The issue for me, which I presented, was a huge abnormal withdrawals, which they did not address in their feedback to me.
Okay.
If you read it, they didn't address that. Secondly, if you look at payroll, which I said 5.4 million we lost in December, 2.5 million we lost in March. They came back and said, okay, we almost lost 5.4 million in December, but we did not lose it. It was stopped. That's what they say in their report. And then they go ahead and say, of the 2.5 you're saying we lost, it was actually 2 million. So the question is this: what sanctions did we give to the perpetrators of the 5.4 that we discovered we were about to lose and we did not lose? And because there were no sanctions, this act again happened in March. And this is what has been happening in Siaya County.
I have to ask Bonadiji.
Yes.
Why were none of these issues, this particular, let's take the 950,000 that was done multiple times.
Yes.
And there's an entire finance department within the county. Why was this never flagged as an issue? Why was it never brought up or questions asked? Why did it have to be then you who found this out and decided to essentially blow the whistle?
You see, I will tell you this, and I come from the private sector. These things, you know me, I'm going through culture shock. What I'm experiencing in counties, public sector, it's amazing. It's impunity. So they expect me to be part of the gravy train. They expect me to join them in looting. There are not many of us in this country that stand up and say, now this we are not going to allow. I mean, it's too much money. It's a lot of money. Do you know today, my security has been withdrawn because of my fight for corruption, on corruption. The privileges that I had, they're withdrawn. Even my official car, I am fueling myself. My allowances. In fact, in that report, Eric, there's a 200 and a 450 LREB meeting and ISPAC meeting. Now, here is the irony of this. That 200,000 that they're saying that was given to me, it was not given to William Oduol. That was advanced to my staff to attend an official legitimate LREB meeting in Kisumu. That LREB meeting was also attended by Governor James Orengo. But in their own wisdom, Assembly decided to only bring out my 200,000 spend for me and my staff, PA, security, driver, together with fuel. Because if you go out of Siaya, you buy fuel. And for 1 week, 200,000 is minuscule. But they didn't bring James Orengo's spend. And by the way, that 200,000 and 400,000, we've not been paid. Why? Because I'm fighting corruption. I am the black sheep in the county.
Mheshimiwa, when you accuse a sitting governor who is your boss, and you accuse the finance department, because that's what you've done, and you point to allegations of impropriety, you seem to be pointing to a trend that has existed before. In fact, you've stated categorically that this was something that happened in the past. Now, we know that things don't happen. People make them happen. So, essentially, you are pointing fingers at individuals who allegedly have been involved in such practices. So, you've opened a complete war front with the governor, his supporters, the assembly, people in the finance department. But let's take it even further. There are people who do business with the county. And then it is Siaya County. And you come from a part of Siaya County.
Yes.
And the governor comes from a certain part. You don't come from the same part of Siaya County. Then we go back into history, and there is the immediate former governor. He came from a certain part of Siaya County. Now, whenever issues get to this point, people get local. It's now a discussion of where does Oduol come from in Siaya? Where does Orengo come from in Siaya? Okay. So, who are the people who've benefited the most from businesses within Siaya County? And who are the people who benefited from these systems? And who are the people who had been relieved of their duties? It gets very convoluted. So now, the issues that you believe you are raising take second stage, they take a back seat. It is now, why is William Oduol fighting our person? And why is William Oduol fighting a system that clearly some people have benefited from? And why is he fighting? And who has sent him? And whose protege is he? And whose person is he? And who is it that he is fronting for? That is the discussion that, in my mind, is taking place, and yet it's not what we're discussing. Because you now become an enemy of the people. So now, Mheshimiwa, these matters that we are speaking of, is it not possible for you as Siaya County to have found an arbitrator or a mediator to resolve these issues amicably so that we don't have to see the underbelly of Siaya County and all the problems that Siaya County have? Or has somebody annoyed you to the point where you cannot now engage reverse gear?
Good question, I must add. The man with the executive authority is James Bob Agri-Orengo. If he decides today, this thing is ending today, city, it will end today. I have pronounced myself on this. I have said numerous times that, you see, this noise, this protracted battle is not good for service delivery. The mamambogas and the young men and women from Siaya County are the eventual losers in this war. And I want us to finish it yesterday. I have said that if James Orengo calls me, I will run to him. But I will not run with my tail behind me. I will run and I will tell him, Governor, this is where the loophole is. Let us seal that one. Let us have some sanctions on these people that have pilfered public money. And once we agree on that, we will work. These bilateral talks nationally that are happening today happened because President Ruto became the bigger person.
Bipartisan.
Yes. And it became the bigger person and reached out to Raila Odinga. Because he is the CEO. He wields executive authority. At the county today, if James Orengo wants to finish it, and I keep encouraging my governor, that we owe it to the great people of Siaya County. Let us, climb down and let us resolve these issues. They are ideological, they are not personal. Service delivery today is suffering. We have a manifesto that we sold out to the people. It has been 2 months of lethargy in Siaya County.
There are people, Governor, Deputy Governor, who accuse you of representing certain interests. Okay? So, for instance, you were co-chair or chair of the team that was looking at the pending bills.
Yes.
The OCO team.
Yes.
That looked at the, looking at the previous issues and what was in the pending bills and auditing those bills and saying this is what is the right bill that the county should pay. What did you unearth from that? What did that report unearth? And did you agree 100% that some of those that were on the list ought not to be paid?
So I'll tell you this, Erica. I had been nominated to chair the cabinet subcommittee on pending bills. I deliberately withdrew myself. I did not chair. I got one of the CECMs to chair for the simple reason that they were going to paint me with a corruption brush. I understand how these things work. Sometimes they try to throw a lot of mud on you so that with the hope that some are going to stick. So I recused myself from that committee. I did not sit on it. A gentleman by the name Dismas Wakla, who was the Minister for Health, is the one that chaired the pending bills committee. All they would do is once they had their deliberations, they would bring to us what they had approved. And I want to report to you, and I want to disagree with my governor, James Orengo, that the pending bills, we had a 1 billion pending bills. What we had in the budget as pending bills was 697 million. But when the committee sat down and reviewed, they came up with 1 billion. Of the 1 billion, 818 million was approved. The balance was not approved. James Orengo the other day said we had a 1.2 billion pending bills. I want to vehemently disagree with that orientation. Because, when you open it up like that, then you give room for malfeasance, for theft. So what was approved? 818. And if there has been an additional 200 million or 250 million pending bills, it needs to be subjected to internal audit before it is approved. Because we do not want Mickey Mouse games happening here. Yeah.
No, Bwana DG, you're a businessman. These discussions, good as they are, and much as they bring out the ills that we may find within the county of Siaya, beyond unpacking things which are wrong and stating them as they are, I have to ask the question, the damaged relationships that it also comes with it in its wake, is it worth the effort?
So that's a good question, actually, City. You're exuding wisdom. Is it because of gray hair?
Well, it's because I'm a Luo and I understand Luo politics.
No. So this is it. We have to. I live in two continuums. It's either right or wrong. Me, I don't have a middle ground. So, those, our forefathers, those of them, some of them who fought for freedom, City,
Yes.
never lived to enjoy it.
No, many of them didn't.
Many of them didn't.
Those who did for a
Eric?
very brief moment,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Many of
Yes.
them didn't. I mean, you must die for a cause. Okay? If I am going to be impeached for the reasons that I have advanced, if the county assembly is going to impeach me because I'm talking about theft, because I am on the side of the people, because today I am extremely popular in Siaya because of what I'm advancing. I am unpopular with the leaders, but I'm very popular with the masses. Because for the first time, they have somebody who is talking about rot within his administration. So as long as my conscience is clear, and as long as I am on the side of the people and on the side of the truth, I do not care about the consequences. I am prepared to face the consequences. You see, impeachment has political ramifications.
Right.
Actually,
Or gains.
career ramifications. I told you I am a thoroughbred professional. I mean, I'm a CPA, I'm a CS, I'm a PhD in leadership and governance. Today, if I am impeached, and that impeachment is approved by the Senate, my friend, I can never be hired anywhere in this republic. I am alive to those consequences.
And you're saying that in spite of all of that,
In spite of all of that,
this stand that you've taken is going to continue.
this stand is going to continue. They have been asking me to resign. And I said I'm not going to resign. Because if I do, City, it will be a free fall for them. They will, still unabated.
It would be like an admission of guilt on your part.
Exactly.
And you would be admitting that you're wrong.
Exactly.
But must it be a discussion about wrong and right as opposed to finding a middle ground that one may not necessarily agree on, but one which is useful? Because, as you say correctly, the very people of Siaya who you represent and who you speak for, as you say, and those who oppose you speak for, are the ones who are the net non-beneficiaries of what's going on. They are not getting the service delivery that this government of James Orengo and yourself was supposed to deliver because of what is going on.
So I am open. I am looking for the middle ground. And I've pronounced myself many times that the grand fromage in all this, the guy with the executive authority, is my good friend James Orengo.
What if he doesn't reach out to you?
I had a meeting with the Odinga, who is a senator for Siaya County, last week. He reached out to me, and we had lunch. He bought me lunch, and basis of that meeting was around how we can bring peace and harmony. He said he was going to have some engagements over the weekend, and hopefully he's going to come back to me this week. So I'm still hoping that that middle ground is going to be found. Yeah.
Okay. So the only way that you see out of this is the governor reaching out to you, or at least you having a sitting with the governor.
Yes.
Whether it's him directly or mediated.
Because I've tried to reach out to him. I've called him 2 or 3 times. He didn't pick up my call. So I leave it in his good hands.
We'll leave it there as well. Deputy Governor William Oduol from Siaya County.